Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us on this fine Monday night here in America. I hope you all had a great weekend, a great Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. But now it's time to get back to work. It's Monday. Let's get our week started here with some news. Well, it was an eventful weekend, not just because it was Mother's Day, but President Trump and Scott Bessent had a long, hard-working weekend. We're going to talk about in just a few moments. President Trump is on a plane right now en route over to Saudi Arabia. He'll be meeting with the Crown Prince there, heading over to Qatar, where he's being gifted a present. We'll tell you about that. It's got the Marxist left, the mainstream media, absolutely going berserk. But let's first talk about, before we talk about what went on over the weekend and what President Trump and Scott Bessent were able to secure, let's talk about the monumental legislation that took place this afternoon in the White House. Let's take a listen.
So today, Americans spend 70% more for prescription drugs than we spent in the year 2000. Think of that. Our country has the highest drug prices anywhere in the world by sometimes a factor of 5, 6, 7, 8 times. It's not like they're slightly higher. They're 6, 7, 8 times. There are even cases of 10 times higher. So that you go 10 times more expensive for the same drug, that's big numbers. Even though the United States is home to only 4% of the world's population, pharmaceutical companies make more than 2/3 of their profits in America. So think of that. With 4% of the population, the pharmaceutical companies make most of their money, most of their profits from America. That's not a good thing. Now, I think, by the way, I have great respect for these companies and for the people that run them. I really do. And I think they did one of the greatest jobs in history for their company, convincing people for many years that this was a fair system. And nobody really understood why, but I figured it out. For years, pharmaceutical and drug companies have said that research and development costs were what they are, and for no reason whatsoever, they had to be borne by America alone. Not anymore, they don't.
President Trump putting America first, putting the American people first, doing something that's been promised for years, both by Republicans, both by Democrats. And President Trump got started with it in his first term in office, cutting the price of insulin. Today, taking a full-on hatchet to the healthcare system, to the people that take advantage of the American people. There's no reason that we should be going to the pharmacy and picking up a drug that costs cents to make, and we're paying hundreds of dollars for it. And the insurance companies are all involved in it as well. If you ever go pick up a prescription, look on the bottom of the bag. I happen to go to CVS, but I assume every pharmacy does it. Look at the price you paid, and then look at what it says for suggested manufacturing manufacturing price if you don't have insurance. Say it's $2 for a prescription. Their suggested manufacturing price is $30, $40, $50, $60. I recently got a cold, and a few weeks ago, and I went to the pharmacy and I picked up a Z-Pack, azithromycin. I think it was $10 for me with my insurance, but I looked at the bottom of it and it said $70 or $80. That's not right to be doing to the American people. RFK Jr. has been instrumental in this. A lifelong Democrat, no less, had this to say, standing next to President Trump this afternoon in the White House.
To be a part of it, and I'd like to ask Robert F. Kennedy to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator in Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself, spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry, too. I think they gave you $100 million. Yeah. But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know what, there's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on this side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies. We spend in our country $1,126 per capita on drugs. In Britain, they spend about $240.
As I said, President Trump, RFK Jr., doing it for the American people, taking on the industrial complex of the medical system, the Medicare system, the pharmaceutical system. These are people who most people are terrified to mess with because of the money they get from them. Before we move on to something, I had noticed as I was going through those clips this morning, watching President Trump, watching RFK, I was originally watching clips from Fox News. I then noticed a little bit of a weird hue on the picture. Donald Trump didn't look right. He looked very orange. So I went to the original feed and I said, I want to figure out what's going on here. What's the original feed look like? So I did a little side-by-side. The left is President Trump on Fox News. The right is President Trump on the feed. Now you may be looking at it and saying, what's the big deal? Well, if you look a little bit closer there, on the left side, it looks like there's some sort of enhancement done to the video footage to make Trump look particularly orange. Whereas the one on the right is just a normal skin color, normal skin tone. The one on the left, it looks like it's doctored. I'll let you guys make the decision there on what it is, but sort of interesting to me that struck my eye. I had long suspected, watching video on Fox News, working at Fox News, that they played with the coloring a little bit to make Donald Trump look like the orange that the Marxist left says he is. Met Donald Trump in person dozens of times, and he doesn't look like that in person. So I always thought it was particularly interesting. This morning, I decided to take a closer look, and I came to that conclusion that I believe Fox News is perhaps doctoring the videos to make Donald Trump look a little extra orange. Just my take on it. I don't watch Fox News, but I did watch those clips. So over the weekend, I mentioned Scott Bessent was in Geneva, Switzerland, meeting with the Chinese premiers and trade reps for the country. They've come to a massive deal. The market soared today. The Dow closed over 1,000 points. The NASDAQ absolutely soaring over 775 points. The S&P up 185 points. The market's reacting. A 90-day pause on the tariffs. They brought the tariff levels down. The United States is at a 30% tariff on China. China's at a 10% tariff on America. As they work to hammer out a deal, China's promising to allow American investments, Americans to make money in China, whereas before it was China just making money on America. They're promising to get their fentanyl problem under control. We're waiting to get the final text of the document about what will be in the trade deal, but the market's absolutely loving it. Scott Bessent was talking to the media over there, and he came out and said something quite interesting that I think you're all going to get a kick out of. In January of 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China. Now, this is quoting Scott Bessent, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. Quote, the Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored all their obligations, so we already have a large framework. Get a load of that, folks. The Chinese knew they were going to get over on Biden. They knew that he's not a respectable person. They knew they had no respect for him. So they said, let's just walk all over it. I think that tells you everything you need to know about President Trump, everything you need to know about the job that President Trump is doing, because it's absolutely remarkable. Let's talk about that for a second. President Trump's first 100 days. Now, I talk a lot about rhinos on this show, and I go after rhinos and Republicans who aren't doing the right thing, because it's important to hold their feet to the fire. I want to give you some numbers real quick. That there's so many rhinos and never Trumpers in Congress that almost nothing can pass. This Congress has sent fewer bills to President Trump's desk than any other Congress in 70 years. 70 years, folks. Now, at the same time, President Trump has had a monumental 100 days, but it's because he signed in 124 executive orders in his first 100 days. Now, consider this. At this point in 2017 and President Trump's presidency, he had signed 24 bills into law. By Biden's presidency, he signed 7 bills into law at this point. In 2009, Barack Hussein Obama signed 11 bills into law. 2001, George W. Bush had signed 7 bills into law. So President Trump behind the curve because Congress is absolutely doing nothing. But nobody wants to hold them accountable. Everyone wants to give them a free pass. Mike Johnson's doing a great job. Give him some time. Let Mike Johnson take more time and have some more time, and then take a little bit more time and then have some. We're now in May, okay? Next month, Congress goes on vacation for the summer. They come back in September, okay? By the time they're back to work and back to schedule order, we're looking at October for them to actually start working. That puts you 1 month out from November, which is 1 year to the election. So what are these people doing? What is Mike Johnson doing? To me, I have no clue. I have not an idea of what Mike Johnson's doing. There's other people. The Ways and Means Committee is certainly getting some work done. We'll tell you about that in just a second. But Mike Johnson it seems to be nowhere to be found. Absolutely nowhere to be found. Now, we do have some good news. President Trump is reportedly talking with Governor Landry of Louisiana about maybe getting rid of a particular rhino in the Senate. That's Senator Cassidy. Senator Cassidy, a never Trumper. Let's take a look back at Senator Cassidy after Trump was getting ready to be impeached after January 6th. Take a listen.
Sir, can I just ask you about the video, just your reaction to seeing all of that new video today?
Just a very powerful video. It's part of the evidence, and obviously it's part of the trial. Of course it's powerful. How that influences final decisions remains to be seen.
Do you think that this could be a vote of conscience for both parties?
Say that one more time.
A vote of conscience? Do you think that there is the flexibility to do a vote of conscience on
I think it should be. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything that you've seen so far that is, especially jarring with you?
There's so much. There's no one thing. There are many things.
Is there something that you think that needs to be taken away today?
One more time?
Is there something you think that needs to be taken away from today's proceedings?
Again, there's so much to say that should be taken away.
Total rhino that needs to go. So it's music to my ears to hear that President Trump may finally be starting to clean house with some of these rhinos who have just been going along, getting along, and hiding like snakes in the grass, that anytime something needs to come up, something needs to come through. President Trump, in that meeting in the Roosevelt Room this afternoon, was asked while he's over in Saudi Arabia. He's apparently being gifted a Boeing 747 from the Qatari government. President Trump was asked about it by an ABC reporter. Take a listen.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why
it's
not?
only ABC. Well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us. I want to pay you $1 billion or $400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. There was an old golfer named Sam Snead. Did you ever hear of him? He won 82 tournaments. He was a great golfer. And he had a motto: when they give you a putt, you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. And then they putt it and they miss it. and their partner gets angry at them. You know what? Remember that Sam Snead. When they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much.
Respectfully, sir, as a businessman, some people may look at this and say, have you ever been given a gift worth millions of dollars and then not received
It's not a gift to me, it's a gift to the Department of Defense. And you should know better, because you've been embarrassed enough, and so has your network. Your network is a disaster. ABC is a disaster.
Oh, he's so brilliant. President Trump, absolutely brilliant. So, as I just hammered Mike Johnson for doing absolutely nothing, I said there were some people in Congress who are doing something, and one of them is the House Ways and Means Committee this afternoon, putting out some text on that big, beautiful bill that we're expecting, folks. That big, beautiful budget bill that we're waiting for. And there's no surprises in it, because promises made, promises kept. If you turn to page 23 on that budget, line 10, no tax on tips, a campaign promise. If you forward a little bit and you go to page 32, no tax on overtime, line 1. And lastly, line 10 on page 38, no tax on car loan interest. That's American-made cars, folks. President Trump, all three of those campaign promises on President Trump's behalf. Now, we're expecting that bill to come out by the end of this month, the framework for it to get it rolling through committee, where they can, put a vote on the committee and into the government. Tax cuts in there, lots of tax cuts, corporate tax cuts, and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And as I said, no tax on car loan payments, the interest payments on those car loans. Earlier, we in the show, in the monologue, we spoke about that big, beautiful executive order today on President Trump capping the pharmaceutical costs. Last week, everyone's favorite man, everyone's favorite billionaire, not Elon Musk, it's another one, Bill Gates, went on television and said, because of the work Donald Trump's doing with Elon Musk and cutting and this and that, people's lives are going to be lost. We're going to lose 2 million more people. He went out there and said he's getting rid of all his money. He's going to donate it by 2045, every dollar of it. Well, it's quite the opposite, because by President Trump signing this executive order, putting this thing into action, we're probably going to see people be able to get medicines that they couldn't before now under this bill. So Bill Gates completely lost as usual. But I want to take all that up today with our guest, Stephen Gardner. He's the host of the Stephen Gardner Show on YouTube. Very successful show. Our guest here quite often on the Great American Show, a great American and a great friend.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, My Pillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard My Pillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Stephen, as always, it's great and an honor to have you on the Great America Show. I think the audience admires our time together here on the show, for lack of a better word. Happy Monday. I want to start with first Bill Gates making his media rounds last week. Says he plans to give away 99% of his money by 2045. Originally, he was going to hold it till he died, and then he was going to give it to whoever wanted to be the next oligarch dictator. He sat down for an interview last week also, and he said that because of DOGE, a lot more people are going to die. Let's take a listen to the short clip.
Now with these cuts, if they're not reversed, we'll go to over 6 million dying. So instead of going down, we'll go back up.
Wow. So it's a difference of 2 million lives.
Absolutely.
I mean, so he's giving away $200 billion. How do we get in line so we can make that money actually worthwhile for the American people?
I don't believe he's going to actually give it away. He was called the great philanthropist for a long time. until they realized he didn't give the money away. He gave it to himself. And then what he started doing is secretly investing in vaccines, because in an interview that he gave many decades ago, he said he realized he could make 20 times as much money on the vaccine industry because it was forced on people. It didn't have the liability. It was literally just a cash cow. So I don't believe anything Bill Gates says. I mean, just look at COVID. He magically knows to invest in BioNTech in Germany, which would then end up teaming up with Pfizer. And then he ends up cashing out, making hundreds of millions of dollars. And like a couple weeks later, does an interview where he says, yeah, those vaccines did not work. They did not work. Did he give back any of the money? No, he didn't give back any of the money. So this guy, I do not believe that he has a good heart. I do not believe that he is trying to help humanity. He's a eugenicist. He wants humanity to go down. He believes that we're all a bunch of pollution creating, carbon-based people that are just making the planet worse. I feel bad for this guy. I mean, his wife, she came out, Melinda, said she had to divorce him because he couldn't do any intimacy. I don't know what that means. Maybe he needs to
figure it out.
Maybe he needs to invest in Viagra and less in children's vaccines that are being forced on him. But I don't believe that this guy's going to actually give his money away. He's going to find some way to pass it to his children, or just like George Soros, he'll find some new Alex Soros to pass his evil empire onto.
Steve, you know the nice thing about this podcast, your podcast, and the podcast of so many others is that 2-minute clip that you just riffed on would not be allowed to be shown on network television, on MSNBC, on CNN, on Fox News, on any of them, because they're terrified of the fact of hurting these people's feelings. It was like the same thing for years. You weren't allowed to say George Soros' name on TV. You became an anti-Semite. I think probably like 99% of the people who talk about George Soros don't even know he's Jewish, because it makes absolutely no difference what religion you are or what race you are. If you're a bad person, Stephen, you're a bad person, and that's all it comes down to. Bill Gates, I think, has been on the wrong side of history and everything. His Epstein connections, highly questionable. His genetic engineering of fake meats from dead bugs. There's time and time again that you look at the things that this man has done to society. People compare him to Elon Musk. And I know I'm going off on a little tangent here, but I think it's relevant, right? Elon Musk is in many businesses, but they all sort of have to do with each other. Tesla is considered, I guess, tech if you look at it, right? Because he's building cars with great technology, self-driving. He bought Twitter, tech company. He owns SpaceX. I think a lot of engineering and technical things that go into it. He's sort of in the same sphere, right? Nothing out of the ordinary. He's got the Boring Company, which is like a company he started to make flamethrowers for fun, but it's a man who's in, one company, one organization. The guy lives in a trailer in Texas somewhere, doesn't live in this crazy extravagant life, has to fly on a private jet for obviously security reasons, but, lives a pretty normal life for the world's richest man. Whereas you got Bill Gates, Steve, and his hand is in every aspect of our society. My rant is over. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Elon Musk doesn't have intimacy issues. He's got 14 children, right? But I did want to add one thing, John. The mainstream media, they don't talk bad about Bill Gates, not because they're nice, but because he gave them $300 million with no strings attached. Who gives out $300 million with no strings attached, right? So what he was really saying is, I'm going to make sure that the mainstream media has the money they need, and you're going to scratch my back in a way that I'm not going to put down in writing. This is why they don't badmouth him. This is why they say he's a genius. He's doing so much good for humanity. But remember when Elon Musk said, there's a lot of billionaires out there that are pretending to do good while actually doing evil? I believe Bill Gates was one of the people he was referencing.
Can you tell me one good thing Bill Gates has done for society?
Perhaps Microsoft Office, but even that, they proved that he stole the code.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at these people and it's like they do so much harm to America. For years, you couldn't talk about them. I'll never forget there was a man by the name of Chris Farrell. And I don't know if you know Tom Fitton is. He's the head of Judicial Watch, like massive government watchdog group. And this guy, Chris Farrell, who's the head of research for them and investigations, he went on Lou Dobbs' show on Fox Business, and he said, George Soros has his tentacles in everything. The next day, there was news stories on Mediaite, on Media Matters. This man called him, he's an anti-Semite. He was talking about his Jew. And we're like, what? The next day, the vice president of programming at Fox goes out and releases a press statement and says, yeah, we've acknowledged that this guy's a racist, and we apologize. He'll never be on the air again. And Lou's like, whoa. First of all, this guy's not a racist. He's not an anti-Semite. How are you going to go out there and make a statement first without even talking to the guy and without even talking to me? But everything has to do with money. Advertising, perhaps, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really great Jews, and there's a few evil Jews. There's a lot of great Mormons. There's a few evil Mormons. There's a lot of great Catholics.
Yeah.
There's a few there's bad people in every organization. You got to call it out, right? What we realize now, George Soros in specific, as DOGE and Elon and his geniuses dug in, they realize, whoa, this dude is a master magician when it comes to leverage. He puts up $1 million for a fake NGO. He then gets the schmucks in Congress that steal our money to give $1 billion. Wow, look at that, a 1 to 1,000 ratio. And then what does he do? He uses our money to invade the United States, take over the judicial system, pay for Antifa, pay for Black Lives Matter, and hurt America. I don't know why he hasn't been investigated.
Steal elections. How about that one? But it's all of them. I mean, it's Mark Zuckerberg. It's Jack Dorsey, the former owner of Twitter. All these people are on the wrong side of history, and there's one common denominator in it all, and it's that they're Marxist Democrats. Now, I assume there's probably some people out there who are good Democrats. I don't know if the two go together, but why you would support the things that they support, but it's truly remarkable. And you'd mentioned the numbskulls in Congress. So we're going to talk about one right now. Jasmine Crockett, who's been pretty much at the forefront of all drama involved in Congress. I don't know where they found this woman. She doesn't have the decorum. She doesn't have the intellectual capabilities, and she doesn't have the class, I think, to be in Congress. She was on a podcast this week, pretty much calling all Republicans members of the KKK and a bunch of violent people. Let's play it for the audience.
They try to act like, oh, political violence, it's the Democrats and it's the liberals. And it's like, actually, I mean, I'm not going to say that like a left-leaning person cannot be violent, because that would be like crazy to say that somebody can't be. But baby, y'all got the white supremacists galore, okay? Like all of them. You got the Proud Boys. You got the neo-Nazis. You have people that literally should be classified as domestic terrorists, because a lot of times that is what they are doing. They are engaging in domestic terrorism. And guess what? They all align with your side. Yeah. Including the KKK. So like, I mean, this is who aligns with that. So like inherently in like who you are, y'all are violent. Like right. Y'all, and most of your violence has to do with people that's got a little bit of melanin. But nevertheless, like y'all are a violent group of people. Like you attract violent actors. And like, I'm sorry, I know they tried to make Black Lives Matter out to be the most violent. What about Black Lives Matter? No. So that's the thing. Like they try to pretend like that.
I'm extremely perplexed, Stephen. I just had to write some notes here. First of all, what was that Bebe thing? Embarrassing, number one. Second of all, does she know anything about history? Who freed the slaves? Who started the KKK? It seems none of these people do. Did she forget about the Summer of Love? She wants to talk about BLM and Antifa. It wasn't the Republicans. It wasn't America First patriots who burnt down cities across America, Stephen, was it?
No, it was definitely not. I saw that clip last Friday, and as a white person, I was like, oh, let me do a little bit of research on the KKK. I've never even looked it up because I just think it's so stupid. But I look it up, and what does it say online? Oh, it was started with the Democrat Party because the South was full of Democrats that wanted slaves. And then when they couldn't have them anymore, what did they do? They killed them, they lynched them, they burned them, they harassed them to no end. And then what did they do? They blamed the Republican Party. I mean, Abraham Lincoln, the Republican Party was literally started to stop the spread of slavery. It's the entire existence for the Republican Party, but most people don't even know that. I learned that during, covering Trump's first term when they kept saying he was KKK. I had to look that up, but yeah, I mean, and to say that white people, like it's just inherently bred in us to have an issue with people that have melanin. What the heck are you talking about? If you're white, you're more likely to be attacked by someone who's white. If you're black, you're more likely to be attacked by someone that's black.
Now, you're not just speaking out of your rear end, Stephen. That's based on facts. That's based on statistics. That's based on numbers of crime numbers that come out of states. It's what you're saying is not, based on your opinion of things. It's the truth. How do we find ourselves with these people in Congress? It's like you don't need a literacy test to get into that place. You don't need an IQ test to get into that place. How do these people raise any money? How does somebody go out there and vote for Jasmine Crockett? I mean, it's truly embarrassing. Now, I'm not saying the Republicans don't have their own problems on their own side, because Republicans do have quite a bit of problems. But how does anyone go out and vote for that, Steve? Bay. What?
Remember, she said that white people in the Republican Party are prone to violence.
Yeah.
Wasn't she the same member of Congress that physically assaulted one of Laura Loomer's journalists at the Capitol? Like, I've never assaulted anybody. So why are you trying to associate me as a white dude that voted for Donald Trump as a violent person when you yourself attacked somebody in the Capitol because you didn't want to be filmed? I mean, let the track record speak for itself. But these Democrats, whatever they're doing, they're pointing out that Republicans are doing it. So it's hypocrisy. I think most people see it for what it's worth. However, the mainstream media, they spend an inordinate amount of time pushing this crap down their viewers' throats. So people actually believe this stuff. I mean, there's still people that think Trump complimented white supremacists in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's been debunked so much, but then you have Obama and others, they go on and they still continue to spread this lie because they've got nothing else to go on.
But, it's real quickly on that. It wasn't just the Democrats who accused him of that. It was people of his own cabinet, Stephen, at the time. People in his own cabinet went out there. Elaine Chao was one of them, Mitch McConnell's wife, and was like, we can't work for him anymore. He's a racist. He's a bad. And you're like, do you guys have ears? Do you guys listen to, what comes out of these people's mouths? It's like, no, because they're like not human beings. They're like bots. They're trolls. It doesn't really make much sense to me, Steve.
Well, Mitch McConnell and his wife have become extremely wealthy, milking the American taxpayer. They're actually one of the Republican families that I would love for DOGE to investigate. I don't think it will happen, even though Mitch McConnell's a feeble, feckless leader who now has to be pushed around in a wheelchair because of his health condition. I just can't wait to have Scott Jennings or some other great Republican take over in the great state of Kentucky.
We're going to talk about that, actually, because you bring up a good point, the protection of rhinos, the protections of Republicans. Before we get to that, while we're on the issue of these Marxist Dems, who, by the way, don't mince words about it. These Democrats who do this country, they hate America, okay? We got a video of Senator Murphy last week with Kristi Noem, and he was begging Kristi Noem to bring back Abrego Garcia. Now, this is a month later, and they're still talking about this MS-13 gang member. Take a listen.
Court decision requires the administration to facilitate Kilmar Abrego Garcia's release from El Salvador. Can you describe the steps that you have taken to facilitate this release? And specifically, can you answer as to whether you have reached out to your counterpart in El Salvador to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's release?
Abrego Garcia is a citizen of El Salvador and should never have been in this country and will not be coming back to this country. There is no scenario where Abrego Garcia will be in the United States again. If he were to come back, we would immediately deport him again because he is a terrorist, he's a human smuggler, and he is a wife beater.
You've read the Supreme Court decision. Does the Supreme Court decision not require you to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia?
The Trump administration is complying with all court orders and judges' orders.
Does the Supreme Court order require you to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia?
Is a citizen of El Salvador. It is up to the president of the El Salvador to make the decision.
You're a defendant
on
in
if
the
he
case.
is coming back. It's been a big topic of conversation between all of us, between the country. When the president visited the United States of America, it was discussed and talked about there. The president has been very clear on this issue, as the Secretary of State and I have as well. Abrego Garcia is not a citizen of this country and is a dangerous individual who does not belong here.
I will not ask another question,
If you
Madam
were
Chair.
back
But the
in this
discussion,
country, we would immediately
but the discussion
deport him.
ends when the Supreme Court rules 9-0 that you have to facilitate his release. And the fact that you can't even acknowledge.
Why doesn't Murphy just come out and say, we want you to go to El Salvador and kidnap that man and bring him to America because we hate America? Stephen, what a hardworking, good American, honest American would bring a man like that into their country? Who would want him as their neighbor? Who would want them around their children, their grandchildren, their parents, the elderly, anybody? Who begs to bring a man like that into society if you love America?
Well, my understanding is his wife, who he beat, according to police records, not according to me.
Right.
Her ex-husband, who is the father of the children that lived there, had filed multiple complaints that he was afraid to go over there. He was afraid for the life of his children. But what this really comes down to is, President Trump has been able to negotiate the release and return of over 45 American citizens, right? But those are Americans abroad being brought back to their home country. What Kristi Noem from DHS is saying is El Salvador gets to decide what happens to a citizen of El Salvador, not the Supreme Court. So yes, the Supreme Court can tell Donald J. Trump, the 47th president, you must facilitate this, but Trump can't force El Salvador to send a native El Salvadorian to a different country. I believe that's what she's trying to say. And is Trump going to call in favors? Can you imagine? Yeah, hey, you know what? I've got limited favors with other government leaders. You know who I'm going to use that for?
Yeah.
To bring back an MS-13 gang member that's been labeled a terrorist, that trafficked people, that had other crimes, who put fear into the heart of children, his wife, the ex-husband. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring that guy back to our community.
I guarantee, Stephen, not one of those Democrats in the Senate, not one of those Democrats in the House would house that man at any of their homes, their properties, or be anywhere near them, with the exception of maybe having like 10 guns on them with extended clips of them. I mean, it's truly insane that this is the inception point we're at in our country, that we have people rooting against America, rooting against our. I look at the perspective. I don't have kids, Stephen, but you have kids. But I see it from the aspect of a parent. As in this job, you see things differently. But I see it as a parent, and it was the same thing with the transgender issue. I see it as I wouldn't want my daughter going in a bathroom with that man, right? I see it as a parent. Why do I want this guy walking the streets of, say, New York City when my kid's walking home from school? These guys do whatever they want. They're loose cannons. They have no remorse. I don't know if you remember a few years ago in Long Island. I mean, they were chopping up people's bodies. Not a care in the world. But this is the people. They don't want to bring in hardworking people with legitimate visas. They want to bring in these illegal aliens, these illegal immigrants who want to hurt our society with drugs or crime.
Yeah. Another clip that I saw just last Friday was Kristi Noem Senator Von Hollen, the first guy from Maryland that went down to get the Maryland man. She said he asked about Abrigo Garcia, and she said it's so weird to have a U.S. senator so obsessed with a terrorist. And I was like, oh yes, that was such a gangster clip. I love it. So like, I don't get it. Like, there's so many problems in Democrat cities. There's a lot of problems in Republican cities, but a lot in Democrat cities. And what are they spending their time, energy, and taxpayer money on? Criminals. I don't get it.
Well, none of us get it. And it was the reason that the American people overwhelmingly put Donald Trump in office in past November. I'm going to pull up here an image for the audience. They'll get a kick out of this. Senator Van Hollen. We've got exclusive image from him from his trip in El Salvador. If we can get it up here, the audience is going to love this one. Senator Van Hollen, where are you?
While you're pulling that up, Van Hollen, upon returning,
a live image of Senator Mr. Van Hollen over in El Salvador with his new garb as he comes home.
Oh my
Go ahead. What were you saying?
That he came back from El Salvador and he did a press conference. I watched the press conference. He's talking about how there's a wife here that's missing her husband and their children and all that. And he keeps looking past her. He doesn't even know she's standing next to him. So, he's fighting for this wife who's lost her husband. He didn't even know who she was.
This reminds me of you're not a New Yorker, but in New York we had an issue some time ago, maybe 10 years or so. It was called Occupy Wall Street, and it was where these blue-haired liberals were going out opposing banks. And I used to joke about it with my father, who was a C-level executive in a large bank, and it was when they were protesting against like they couldn't go without banks, like they can survive without banks. And my dad used to say, he goes, these people are so dumb. Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan could walk outside the building, walk down the street, and these idiots wouldn't even know who the hell he was.
Yeah. I remember all of that. That kind of kicked off the whole Well,
yeah, it was a big point. I mean, they occupied areas in New York City, and you know what? It wasn't violent. It was weird. And the only reason I know is my sister lived down in Wall Street at the time, and I used to go visit her. And Stephen, these people were like weirdos. They'd go sit in the park, like homely looking people, no violence, just total weirdos. And you say to yourself, like, the sad thing is some of them probably went to Ivy League schools, which we now know isn't the best place to send your kids to school. Some of their parents are probably very well off. Most of them probably are very well off. And these people don't realize that you need banks to get through society. It was like, what are you guys thinking? And nobody really called it out at the time. Now that I think about it, as like, this is totally asinine that you want to push our society forward. But then we fast forward years later, and I mean, we had burning down of cities, looting like there's never ever been before, over George Floyd, who had a questionable track record of himself, but was championed as this great man, this great human being, an asset to society.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm a religious person. I believe we're all children of God. That's my personal opinion. It's unfortunate what happened, but then to go on, the thing that I don't get is like, oh man, this guy got killed. I'm going to break into a Nike store and rob as many Nikes. Like, how does that bring that person back to life? It doesn't. Some of this outrage is terrible. Burning down buildings in the name of what? I don't personally understand it. But it's just such a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what it was about. It wasn't about George Floyd. None of those people gave a damn about George Floyd or how he died or anything about him. It was an opportunity to go cause corruption. These people got paid for it. They're paid agitators. It was an opportunity to go into Louis Vuitton and Rolex and go shopping for free because they knew that nobody was going to do anything about it. And I love Donald Trump to death. I think there's not a thing that he does wrong. And I'm not saying this as a sycophant. I'm saying this as compared to what we've had in the past, there is second to none to Donald Trump. There was one thing I disagree with him on, and I wish he would have sent in the military on some of these riots in 2020 and nipped them in the bud before they got crazy. But, he was up for re-election. He didn't want bad optics to look like that we're in this authoritarian dictatorship, where we got the military in the streets. But what these people did, Stephen, and not one of them it faced any sort of crimes like the people from January 6th.
Some of them won lawsuits and got additional money.
I mean, that's so disgusting.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
While we're on the topic of that and January 6th, let's talk about Tom Tillis. Okay, because I said we were going to talk about rhinos who are, by the way, there's no Republican Party anymore. There's the rhino wing of the Republican Party, and there's the America First wing of the Republican Party. And for the Democratic Party, there's Democrat centrists, and you've got the Marxist wing of the party. It's a 4-party system, in my opinion, here in America now, right? You've got these Republicans, Stephen, who time and time again go against President Trump. And this man has such a big heart, he gives him a free pass. One of them, Tom Tillis, who single-handedly sank Ed Martin, the U.S. attorney for District of Columbia's chance. Now, this is a man, Ed Martin, who stood up for January 6ers when nobody would. Is going after Matthew Graves, that rogue prosecutor who brought up that 1512C charge, which the Supreme Court overwhelmingly knocked down. This is a man who has a track record of integrity, honesty, perhaps one of the most people with integrity in Washington, D.C. I know it's not saying much. And Trump let him single-handedly sink his nomination. How do these people continue to get free pass after free pass after free pass with no accountability? It drives me insane.
Wasn't Senator Tom Tillis the one that encouraged Pete Hegseth's former sister-in-law to come forward and say that he was abusive, that he was an alcoholic, that his wife was terrified of him? And then the wife comes out and is like, none of that's true, right? Tom Tillis was trying to bring forward fake news so that they could sink Pete Hegseth. My understanding from just reading the news is Trump then just went ahead and installed Ed Martin in the Department of Justice at a very high level. He's now going to go after the weaponization from the Biden administration. So I believe Trump is going to use him in a different way. We'll see how Judge Jeanine Pirro does. Trump seems to, he badmouths Fox News, but then he keeps tapping their talent to join the government. So we'll see what happens there.
Tell me about it. The good news is Jeanine is a Trumper. I mean, I know Jeanine personally from my time at Fox News. She's a good person. She cares about Trump more than she cares about Fox News. I know that to be a fact.
And she's smart.
She's very smart. I mean, she's got a track record of doing honest, good work. Now, there's other people at Fox who I wouldn't tap to guard the hen house, but the ones he's got, Hegseth's another one. People question the job he's doing, but he is a Trump loyalist. He is a man who is not going to stab Trump in the back. He is a man who is going to be honest. He's a man who's not going to allow people to undermine Trump, right? That's what we need, because first term, we saw what these people did. I think Jeanine will do a great job, but Tillis, I mean, somebody's got to hold this guy responsible. He's now out there gloating about it, that he single-handedly sank this guy. He's up for re-election in 2026. It's a short time away, but we can't let these people keep getting away with this, Stephen, and normalizing it. Lindsey Graham is another one. We've got to stop. John Cornyn's another one. We've got to stop normalizing this behavior, because this will be the death of what I call the Republican Party. If you want the rhinos to win and take over the party, you keep voting for these people. And I promise you, it might not be in 5 years, it might not be in 10 years, but they will win. They will defeat America first. It's just how the machine is operated. It's just how it works. We have to start voting these people out, Stephen.
Yeah. Yeah. Another disappointment from Trump for me was when he was like, yep, we want Lindsey Graham reelected. I was like, dude, if anybody has badmouthed you, undermined you, undercut you, it's Lindsey Graham. I think it's a battle he doesn't want to fight. But I don't think South Carolina would suddenly go to a Democrat. So why not let new Republican blood step in? I mean, I just see Lindsey Graham. He's such a pathetic person. I used to like him. I thought, oh, he's going to get to the bottom of this Russia collusion crap.
Yeah.
He didn't get anywhere near the bottom. It was Kash Patel and Devin Nunes and others. They were the ones that figured it out. I don't like Lindsey Graham.
Yet he'll win. We call him, Lou and I used to call him Lady G. Lou he wouldn't come on air and say it because he was respectful of him, but that man does not deserve respect. He really doesn't. Tom Tillis, apparently, it's being reported that he may have some similar issues. I just, on Friday, I spoke with the great Roger Stone, who, when I was with him in Florida 2 weeks ago, Stephen, he had broke that story about Letitia James and the mortgage fraud. Now, I don't think I've told this story on air yet. Me and Roger did an hour-long show, and then he took me out to dinner, myself, Roger, and his producer. And we're out to dinner. Roger and I walk past the bar, and a guy looks over, and Roger's a very distinctive person. You could see him from a mile away. The guy looks over at Roger, and he goes, "Hey, Roger, you Roger Stone?" And Roger smiles. And the guy goes, "Man, you got to call your buddy. He's killing me. I lost $1 million today in the markets." And Roger comes over to him and shows him the story that just broken about Letitia James. The guy reads the story, starts cackling, laughing, and goes, "With stories like that, I don't care about losing another $1 million tomorrow." And, I don't know if he was serious about the $1 million, but I think that's just the general sentiment of where Americans are at right now, where Trump supporters, the 75+ million Trump supporters are right now, that we've been stale for so long with investigations and truth, justice, in the American way that they're willing to risk it all just to see some heads roll.
Yeah, well, the Democrats sure aren't stale on going after Republicans, but the Republicans are such weak, wimpy babies. Like, get in there and go after people. Like, if you investigate some of these people you're suspicious of, you're going to find something, right? Look at Bob Menendez. They end up finding like gold bars stuffed in his suit pockets, 400 grand in cash, rubber banded, stuck in the closet. Nobody.
Hold on. You mean you don't have that in your closet?
No.
Give me your wife's number. I got to give her a call because there's some boots in the closet with gold in it, Stephen. I know it. Everyone has that.
It's in the safe. It's in the safe. I mean, come on, Bob. With all of that fraudulent payout money, you couldn't buy a safe. Come on, bro.
Hey, hold on, real quickly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but do you find it funny they were supposed to go do an audit down at Fort Knox, and then Bob Menendez gets convicted, found guilty, and now all of a sudden they don't want to go do the audit anymore?
Yeah, I mean, they here's the thing that's scary. They may find more gold in his closet than Fort Knox. But yeah, that was a big story. And, we get hit with so many stories. It's really easy to forget the ones that you want to come true. But this Letitia James thing makes me so happy because this isn't like right now, to protect you and I, it's allegations. But come on, this is all publicly documented. I've seen the documents with my own eyes. The FBI office in Albany, New York, if they don't dig into this and find something, it's because they don't want to.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. I spoke with Sam Antar last week. He's the forensic accountant who's been working on it. He's going to be on this show this week. I asked him, I said, "Do you want to go do a show? I'll have my camera crew. We'll go set up outside of Letitia James's home. We'll set up chairs, we'll set up everything, and we'll get there early in the morning. And if she wants to come out for work, and he's like, I'd love to. It's just, it's too far of a commute for me. But we were talking about doing it because I think it would have been a brilliant idea. So we're going to have him on the show this week to talk about that and talk about the case. Back to my point before we move on. Tom Tillis is apparently, now allegations, of course, but is being it's being reported that he may have done some similar activities like Letitia James has when it comes to undisclosed deeds, rental income, and mortgage issues. So we'll keep you updated on where that goes, and we'll send the story over to you, Stephen, to give it to your audience to keep them up to date. But sort of interesting, a lot of these people throwing rocks when they live in glass houses. It's very, very strange.
You know, it's interesting about that, and also the Letitia James. Letitia James' counter argument is, this is political revenge. Therefore, I need taxpayer money to defend me instead of my own money to defend me. But President Trump doesn't have to go after Letitia James because there's other people that are happy to do it for him. You know, Roger Stone, Sam Antar, others. Breitbart News has been on the, there's just so many. I've been covering it. Same thing with this Tom Tillis. Somebody just needs to dig in, pull those skeletons out of the closet, and that is going to sink itself. Like, Trump doesn't need to be involved. But these Republicans, they do make me crazy. Like, Trump is pulling the weight of the Republican Party right now. He can only do so much. He's only got less than 4 years, not even really 4 years. But the people in Congress, they've got to start putting some of this stuff into law. It's amazing to me when Biden was in office, the Democrats, I mean, they were in lockstep. Republicans, they're a mess. They got to get it together. They've got to get on the same page.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There needs to be accountability. I mean, that's what it boils down to. My pal James O'Keefe of OMG Media, O'Keefe Media Group, breaking two stories last week. One about the prince and his relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. The other is an interesting one, and it's Pam Bondi talking to a random person in a restaurant, obviously an undercover journalist. Pam Bondi came out 3 days after this video and said what had happened. Now, let's take a listen to O'Keefe for the audience to get a better idea. He can explain it better than I.
Yesterday, Attorney General of the United States Pam Bondi was at the White House and disclosed what she represented as brand new information in relation to Jeffrey Epstein, the existence of tens of thousands of videos featuring little children.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, this is the first time an official has publicly acknowledged that videos of Epstein and his victims exist. What you may not know is just 9 days prior, the Attorney General had a very similar conversation with a total stranger in a restaurant.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. FBI's been.
Okay.
So.
Any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tons and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids, so they have to go through every one.
In the past, officials have spoken about the, quote, mountain of evidence in the Epstein case, but they've never, previous to that moment, acknowledged on the existence of videos of, quote, little kids. Just a few days later, at 2 p.m. on May 1st, our reporter sent the AG's office the text of the recording. We asked why this detail had not been disclosed to the public, but was instead being told to a random stranger at a restaurant. The Attorney General used almost the exact same language as she did with the stranger in the restaurant, language that we shared with her press office.
There are tens and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids.
There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
Now, we hesitated to publish this story, but believe, like we did yesterday, that the public has a right to know. And this one raises serious questions. On one hand, why did our country's highest law enforcement official share this information first not with the American people, but with a self-described nanny at brunch? But more importantly, why was this information held back in the first place? Does this show that a government apparatus is still working behind the scenes to protect powerful people involved in the scandal? Based upon the response to our Epstein story yesterday, it's clear that the American people want answers, and they want accountability.
James O'Keefe, and now that some people frown upon the work that he does, I think it's brilliant because there's no other way to expose somebody than when you catch them off guard like that. He did the right thing. He gave the Department of Justice the opportunity to come out and Pam Bondi to come out that 3 days later and admit what she had said on camera. But why didn't she come out and tell us that earlier? Why did it take James O'Keefe to send in an undercover journalist to get some information out of her? Like, is there still a deep state operation being run? Now, your audience and my audience sometimes gets upset at me, Stephen, that I talk about this and talk about Pam Bondi and give them time. We're giving them time, right? By default, they have all the time in the world. But when you see something like this happening, you start to wonder if we're being deceived.
Yeah, I could see both sides of it. And when I saw that video last week, I was like, okay, I actually think this is good because the wheels of justice move slowly, right? Yeah. But to now find out, okay, wait a minute, one of the reasons it might be going slowly is they've got a bunch of sick, disgusting stuff. And, you know, like human beings have to sit down and watch that in order to build a case. It's just gross. It makes me sick as a father with 3 young kids. At the same time, why not just say, listen, I know everybody wants the Epstein files. They're way more complex. We're just digging into them. One of the things that's going to slow this down is we found tens of thousands of hours of videotape with children. We have to protect these children. And at the same time, we have to build a rock solid case in order to put these sickos in jail. I say send them to El Salvador, but I'm glad that he put the video out because 1, it holds them accountable, and 2, it gives me an insight behind the curtain of, wow, okay, this is something really gross and complex. It's going to take time, but they are working on it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but she shouldn't have come out and said they're on my desk. And then the next week she shouldn't have come out and said they're coming out tomorrow and then bring a bunch of social media influencers there, give them binders of a whole nothing burger. That's back in March. She's now had from March. And this is, I'm trying to explain to the audience, this is where my frustration is for the people who are on the side of Pam saying, you know, she's doing a good job. You had from beginning of March 4th, I think is the day, to now May. We're entering the second week of May here. You had all that time to come out and say, this is what's going on. You know, you don't have to tell us, but, you know, hey, this is where we're at in the process. This is what's happening. But instead, keep us in the dark for months and then wait for James O'Keefe to send in somebody. You said send him to El Salvador. I'd rather send him to Alcatraz and make him swim there for these people who are involved in any of these Epstein crimes. I've said it on the show so many times, Stephen, I'll continue to say it. I have absolutely no tolerance for pedophilia. I have no tolerance for anybody who protects and harbors any sort of pedophilia. To me, that's the worst thing that you can do to somebody, up there with murder. Pedophilia is perhaps, in my opinion, the worst thing the worst possible crime that you could commit. And don't take my word for it. Just ask somebody who's been in jail before what they do to those people once they get into jail. It's frowned upon even by the worst criminals, Stephen, in the world.
I was being pretty generous to keep this thing PG, but people that take advantage of the innocence of little children. I have no problem personally with the death penalty.
Absolutely.
I have no problem with these people having the living crap beat out of them. I have no issue with any of that. In fact, I wish there was a little bit more of it because it would make people think twice before touching a kid. Instead, they go, well, I can probably get away with it, or they'll just, give me a slap on the wrist or whatever. Like, no, I want some capital punishment for these losers.
Yep. They're sick, demented people. Anyone who takes advantage of a minor, a child, you deserve the worst possible prison sentence and death sentence. So when people get angry at me that I go after Pam Bondi or sometimes Kash Patel, just think from my mindset a little bit about what we're protecting and what we're allowing to be protected. That's what I ask from you, the audience. Before we wrap up, I know you're short on time. Trump's acting FEMA director, Cameron Hamilton, was escorted out of the headquarters one day after defying President Trump's plan to abolish the agency during a congressional hearing. Stephen, this is what I voted for: accountability. You don't want to do the job. Take your stuff and get the heck out.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's great if people are not doing the job. So every one of these positions serves at the pleasure of the President of the United States.
Yes, sir.
He or she, in this case a he, comes in with an agenda. Your job is to fulfill that agenda.
Yep.
If you're not doing it, goodbye. See ya. So I'm happy about it.
Yep, no other way to do it. Before we wrap up, Gavin Newsom, I've got a big part of my audience, believe it or not. The two biggest places people watch this show, Stephen, is in New York and California, which is sort of funny because it's two very blue states, but it shows that there's a thirst for truth and there's a thirst for people getting an independent view and allowing them to make the determination of where they stand on their own. Gavin Newsom is going after gas, going after oil in California again. It's being reported by an ABC affiliate. Phillips 66 refinery in LA could lose by the end of this year, which would skyrocket prices above $6, somewhere in the sense of $9 a gallon in the Bay Area. How do people continue to vote for this? Like, once again, like, how do you vote for this? How do you allow this? I know the weather's beautiful and California is the most beautiful state in the country, okay? But how do you continue to vote for this?
So, unfortunately, the pain is probably going to have to get so bad under Newsom that you have someone like Steve Hilton that comes in and says, we're bringing back Phillips 66. We're bringing back Valero. We're bringing back Conoco. We're bringing back Texaco. We're bringing back whatever the name is. And we're going to drill, baby, drill and make California affordable again. Like, I just think it's going to have to get really bad. People vote with their wallet, and then the pendulum will swing back the other way.
Yeah, we saw 1 million vote swing in the 2024 election. Let's hope it continues to go that way. You mentioned Steve Hilton. I've been pushing for my buddy Grant Cardone to consider looking at it. A man who knows business very well, a man who's built a few billion-dollar empire on real estate. Anyone's better than this point at Gavin Newsom. Steve, it's always great to have you. Folks, Stephen Gardner, the Stephen Gardner Show on YouTube, Stephen Gardner 1 on YouTube. We recommend you join his show each and every day. He does way more interviews than me. I got to be honest, he's probably one of the few people who works harder than me in this business, and I work pretty damn hard. Steve, you get the last word here. The floor is yours. Whatever you want to sell, whatever you want to pitch, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I've been very, you said earlier, this is what I voted for. The stuff that Trump is doing, this is what I voted for. The border, getting gas more affordable, bringing down the price of eggs, getting illegal criminals out of my community, getting fraudulent stuff out of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of this. I think the next 100 days are going to be an absolute pleasure to report on as a journalist. I'm just really excited.
Yeah, a great deal of fun. Folks, as I said, the Stephen Gardner Show, Stephen Gardner 1 on YouTube. He's got millions of people watching his show, and it's for a reason. Stephen, come back soon. We'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us today here on The Great America Show. We hope to see you back here tomorrow for The Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. As I always say, folks, against all odds, against all enemies, against all haters, we're going to continue this thing. And we're going to keep the steam machine going because it's Americans like you and I that make this country a great place. More so you than me, but we'll leave it at that. Folks, tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a great night.